Well, welcome everyone to this edition of Becoming an Inside Out Initiative School. Today we are talking about step 3 in the process, which is collective purpose statements for your athletic department. Step 1, if you remember, was common language, and Jody Redmond led that WebEx. It's available to you on the ISOI website. Last week, myself and Matt Percival and Troy Erdahl led creating your own purpose statement. And again, today we're now doing collective purpose statement. My name is Russ Reitz. I'm the activities director at Prior Lake High School, and I am joined today by Troy Erdahl as well. Troy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. Troy Erdahl. I'm the activities director at St. Anthony Village High School, right outside of Minneapolis, and I am the Ohio Partner AD for the Inside Out Initiative.
Troy, can you see the PowerPoint up yet?
Yes. Yep, it's on the screen.
Great. So again, today is step 3 in becoming an ISOI school. And really what we want to talk about is, I think, one of the most important steps in getting everybody's arrows pointed in the same direction and coming up with a collective transformational purpose statement. This is really how we're going to define success moving forward. And Troy and I have both done a collective purpose statement for our schools. It's similar to creating your own purpose statement. So the resource that you have on your screen right now is something that you can download off the ISOI school. And when we did it, I had a subgroup of coaches that were most interested in creating this collective purpose statement. Some ADs choose to have all of their head coaches in the room to go through and help select what they feel are the core values or the most important values for their school building. And we've used the DOT method of indicating what is most important. So if you look behind me here, I've got ours still hanging up. This is something that I have posted in my office. So when coaches come in, it can be still a conversation piece that we use when we're talking about our collective purpose statement. But in essence, give each coach 3 dots. We have the core values posted in the front of the room, and we have them put dots next to the value that they feel is most important. And what that does is it generates a conversation about how we come up with our own personal collective purpose statement for our athletic department. Troy, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, the fun parts about creating a collective transformational purpose is there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. And the important part is the relationship and time spent with your coaches and even your athletes to develop it. And that process might look different depending on what works best in your building. A lot like Russ was saying, when we developed our collective transformational purpose, it was a collection of coaches. And I both invited and recruited coaches. And in the end, it was about a group of 12 of us that spent a number of lunches together. And so we ordered pizza, we had lunch together, and we whittled down really what we're all about and what our core values are as a group. And it was a couple-month process for us, which allowed time between meetings for people to really reflect and talk about what was most important to them and what's most valuable in our activities programs. And so the camaraderie and process was a fantastic part of producing, like Russ was talking about, one of the most important outcomes of the whole Inside Out initiative.
So the 3 core values that our coaches collectively came up with are perseverance, empathy, and respect. We felt like those 3 were what we wanted to spend the most time on and be purposeful about in terms of practice planning with our athletes. We really felt like perseverance was something that we as an athletic department needed to improve on because our teams were kind of giving up halfway through the season if they didn't feel like they were successful on the scoreboard. Empathy, I think, is it's one of the things that Joe Ehrmann talks about most in his book. Really changing the culture in athletics today is teaching our kids empathy. And so we included that, and then obviously respect for our opponents, the officials, and that goes a long way with parents and our staff in the building and everything else. So those were the 3 that we came up with core values. Troy, do you want to share what your coaches came up with collectively?
Yeah, and for mine, it'll lead right into what our collective transformational purpose is. And we went a little different route with ours. And after brainstorming and being really all over the map with how we wanted the transformational purpose to look in the end, we settled on an acronym because when we talked about core values, the ones that kept coming up over and over, we talked about honor and what honor means. And effort was another that we kept talking about. Attitude, respect, and teamwork. Russ just talked about respect a moment ago. And so if you take honor, effort, attitude, respect, and teamwork, our collective transformational purpose is HEART. And so we use the acronym HEART. And every season we begin in week 1 with a character education lesson talking about what HEART means. And we lead that with all of our athletes. And so it happens at least 3 times a year. We talk with our captains about what that means. Our coaches hear it. And so if I stopped a kid in the hallway and asked them what HEART means, they would be able to go through the acronym step by step and tell me what honor, effort, attitude, respect, and teamwork means. And so we went a little different route with ours, and that in the end it was not a sentence, but an acronym. And it really gets to what our definition of success is, which we'll talk about at the end.
So our collective purpose statement is Prior Lake Activities teaches students, staff, and parents perseverance, empathy, and respect for self and others through our commitment to excellence in our community. This is something that we have on our main page on our website, and it's something that I share at parent-athlete coaches meetings, and I always open with it whenever I do professional development for our coaches. When Troy talks about his acronym, how he's done it, we did the exact same thing. So what our collective purpose statement led to was a conversation more specifically about how we're going to deliver this purpose, how we're going to be successful in this purpose. And so we came up with That's Laker. And we have broken down into moral character and performance character. Can everybody see that, Troy, on the website?
Yep.
So the acronym is Laker because we're the Prior Lake Lakers. And what we're trying to do is we know we've been successful in our collective purpose statement when we see kids that present love, appreciation, kindness, empathy, and respect in their everyday relationships with others. And then in terms of when we're performing, it's legacy, their ability to advocate, knowledge of their sport, their enthusiasm when they're in the game or on the bench, and then their resiliency. So this is how we feel like this is kind of our climate, so to speak. It's how we're gauging our impact daily on that collective purpose.
Hey, Russ, can you pause for 1 second? Craig, can you hear Russ right now?
I missed probably the last 10 seconds, 20 seconds.
Me too. Okay, so Russ, we lost audio for about the last 10 or 15 seconds for you. Still nothing.
I don't know how that happened.
Yep, you're back. You're back.
Sorry about that.
Yep.
Okay, so in terms of just defining success and how we're doing, we have this Laker acronym, and our coaches are using this every single day in practice. When they see our students are loving one another, they appreciate one another, they're being kind to one another, they're showing empathy when an athlete is struggling, and they're showing respect for self, opponents, teammates. Those are all ways that we are gauging how we're doing in our collective purpose statement. So we use that acronym on a daily basis. That purpose statement is how we're going to determine or define success at the end of the season. But this thing grows quickly. I mean, we went from a collective purpose statement right to how do we do a better job defining moral and performance character with our kids? How do we make it sticky for them? And how do they know that they're making progress in these areas? So the Laker acronym has been big for us in helping us determine if we're successful in that collective purpose statement. So one came from the other, basically. Okay, so we created that collective purpose statement. We shared it with coaches. We came up with the Laker acronym. Let's see if I can get to the next step here. This is a school in the Northwest Metro in Minnesota, and this is their collective purpose statement. We participate in athletics because we are driven with passion for our sport and school, with an emphasis on building lasting relationships and being role models in our school and community. So their core values were obviously passionate. Relationships were a big piece, and I think being role models are probably their three core values that they pulled out for their purpose statement. This is Matt Percival's school at Eastview High School in Apple Valley, Minnesota. They have the coaches each have their purpose statement. They've come up with a collective purpose statement for their athletic department. Each program has a purpose statement, and what the dance team did is they had each individual athlete come up with their purpose statement as well. And their purpose statements are posted in the hallway that leads to their dance studio. So as people walk to the dance studio, they can stop and read what each individual athlete gave as a purpose statement. First, it shares the athletic purpose statement, then the team purpose statement, and then what each individual athlete has for a purpose statement. Their core values are also shared on the top. So if you see it above all of those individual purpose statements, they've got core values that each athlete thought was most important to them. So really impactful stuff, and it has definitely changed. It's making room in the culture for purpose-based athletics, which is the goal of Inside Out Initiative. Parents are thinking differently about how they define success, certainly in the dance program at Eastview High School. Step 4 in this process, and this will be after we finish the WebEx today in collective transformational purpose, the next WebEx will be on defining success in your community. And really it's about how each coach crafts their own purpose statement and then how we define success regarding our collective purpose statement. One of the things that I ask every coach when we start our exit meeting is, what's your purpose statement and how'd you do? And that's really how we craft our conversation in terms of how successful the season was. And I share those things with parents as much as I possibly can, because in order to make room in the culture, we really have to impact the community as well. So next week will be definition of success. This has been collective purpose statement. Again, there's videos on common language and your own personal purpose statement that's available on the ISO website, along with other resources to get you started. But hopefully you've got a good understanding of how you get that collective transformational purpose statement done and why it's so important. Troy, anything else to add before we close up?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to present, and please let me, Russ, or Matt Percival know if you have any questions or there's any way that we can help along the way. We'll be happy to do that. And I think for the ADs that are watching this, the part that you'll enjoy most about this process is really working on a deeper level with your coaches and having some fantastic conversations. It really was invigorating and renewed my spirits and passion for purpose-based athletics to be able to sit with a fantastic group of people and talk about what we're all about and how we define success, and to have that collective purpose statement. So I think you'll enjoy the process.